The millionaire is shocked to find his baby calm while a black beggar woman cleans the room. David Grant slammed the door shut behind him, the weight of the city crashing down after another endless day of deals and boardrooms. The slick marble floors of his penthouse hotel suite echoed beneath his polished shoes. Luxury wrapped around him like armor, velvet curtains, shining chrome, and a crib that looked worth more than most apartments downtown. Yet as powerful as he felt on Wall Street, tonight something felt off. Then he saw her. There, sitting by the window, was Clara, a black woman with weathered hands and eyes deep as storm clouds, holding his infant daughter Emma. The baby was quiet, almost smiling, cooing softly in a way David had never heard before. Clara's ragged clothes contrasted violently with the gleaming walls and crystal chandeliers. The door was wide open behind her, and a faint scent of city rain and something earthy drifted in. David's heart thundered, not with love, but rage. Who invited this stranger into his private kingdom? Was this some kind of elaborate, sick joke? He took a step forward, fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. "Excuse me, what the hell are you doing in my suite?" His voice boomed, sharp enough to shatter glass. Clara looked up, calm and steady. Nothing about her screamed fear or guilt. She smiled with a quiet kindness that instantly softened the tension in the room. I came to clean," she said, voice low and sure. "This place needed help." Her gaze shifted to the baby, and David noticed how Emma's little fingers curled around Clara's rough shirt as if holding onto something safe. David's breath hitched. His anger wavered. He walked closer, suspicious but drawn by the strange stillness Clara brought into the chaotic city sky outside. She hummed under her breath, a melody that filled the room like warm sunlight cutting through the cold. His daughter's cries, usually relentless and jagged, had melted into a deep, contented silence. "Anyone else would have screamed or run," David muttered, voice cracking. "You just, what, calm her." Clara nodded slowly. "She trusts me. Babies can tell the truth about people even if grown-ups can't." David froze. That hit him harder than he expected, the truth about people. His childhood flashed through his mind, abandoned dinners, hollow promises, and a father whose silence was louder than any hurt. Days passed, and despite every warning bell ringing in his head, David found himself letting Clara stay. She slipped into his world like a shadow, quiet, unassuming, yet impossible to ignore. The baby only wanted Clara. His expensive nannies packed up quietly, replaced one by the woman he'd once been ready to throw out in anger. Clara didn't just care for Emma. She began unraveling the walls around David's heart, stitching the broken parts with tales of her own dark roads. Homeless nights, a family wrecked by tragedy, dreams crushed beneath the heavy weight of shame and silence. One evening, under the dim glow of the city lights filtering through silk curtains, Clara whispered something no one expected, a truth that sent lightning through the calm they'd built. She was from a rich family too, disowned, cast out for reasons wrapped in hate and secrets much darker than his own. Now David confronted more than Bass and stocks. He faced a world layered in lies, fear, and the stark, burning question: what is family? What is love? What is real wealth? The luxury around him suddenly felt like chains. The baby's soft sigh was a call. Would David choose to break free or stay trapped, building walls higher than before? The city outside roared, but inside the sweet silence screamed louder. The answer hung in the air, thick and waiting. "Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you." Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Days passed, and each one felt like a slow awakening. David's heart danced uncertainly as Clara continued to work her quiet magic. Emma thrived in Clara's presence, laughing brighter than ever, and David watched, bewildered. From an outsider, Clara transformed into a cornerstone of their lives, each shared moment a gentle push against his tightly wounded heart. One evening, as dusk wrapped the city in blues and grays, Clara prepared a small dinner. The kitchen was filled with the warm aroma of spices mingling in a way that felt almost like family. David leaned against the doorframe, the golden glow wrapping around him, a strange sense of comfort swelling within. But then a thought struck him hard. Were they crossing lines? He felt tethered between the warmth of humanity and the weight of his privilege. Suddenly, the door swung open. The air shifted. A tall man stood silhouetted against the night. David's pulse quickened. He recognized him instantly. It was James, his older brother, the one he'd lost contact with years ago after a bitter family feud. The tension in the room thickened, an electric charge pulsing under skin stretched thin. "David," James's voice was a low growl that carried years of resentment. "It's time." "What are you doing here?" David's face paled. The warmth of the room turned to ice. "You can't just walk in here." "You think I wouldn't know?" James snapped, stepping inside like a storm. "Mother, she's sick." Emotional sharpness laced his words. "The doctors say she won't make it unless—" "Unless what?" David interrupted, a knot forming in his throat. James took a breath, the air heavy with unsaid words. "Unless she sees you. She's been looking for you. The way things ended, it's tearing her apart." Behind him, Clara stood still. The room tilted, caught between the past and the present as David's mind raced. He hadn't even thought about his mother in years. Old wounds opened, raw and gnashing. The silence echoed as he wrestled with shock and confusion. Could he walk back into that world? "Mom chose to act like I didn't exist," David bit out, fists clenched. "She cast me aside when I followed my path." "Does it matter?" James's voice dripped frustration. "It's not just about you anymore. You have a daughter now, David." Emma cooed softly in her crib, unaware of the storm raging outside. David's gaze flicked between Clara and James. Clara's expression had shifted from calm to apprehension. She knew something was coming, a weight she couldn't hold alone. "David," Clara began hesitantly, "you need to do what feels right for you." "Do you?" James challenged, his tone sliding into something dangerous. "Because I know who you really are. You can't hide behind her." A taut silence stretched in the air until it snapped like a fraying thread. "What do you mean?" David's voice wavered, realization creeping in, a chill sweeping through him. "I know the truth about Emma," James declared, stepping forward, voice low and deliberate. "She's not just a baby. She's more than what you think." The words hung in the air, piercing through the silence like an arrow, igniting a wild storm of questions, secrets, identities, fractured realities. Clara's eyes widened, fear dancing across her face. "What?" David stumbled backward, his world spiraling. What was James saying? The truth was unraveling before him, sharp and dark. The key to everything hovered just out of reach, its shadow looming over all of them. David felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything he thought he understood about love and family shattered. There it was, the chilling question that loomed larger than the city outside. What had he been blind to all along? David stumbled backward, his breath quickening as if he'd been punched in the gut. "What do you mean, James?" The words barely escaped him, the room spinning. Emma cooed innocently, completely unaware of the turmoil unfolding around her. James stepped closer, his expression hardening. "I know who the father is." He paused, the weight of his next words heavy in the air. "And it's not you." Silence cut through the room, sharper than glass. David felt a chill whisper down his spine. The floor felt unsteady beneath him, and he swallowed hard, trying to process this bombshell. "What are you talking about?" Confusion clawed at him. "Your mother," James's voice dropped, thick with an emotion David couldn't identify. "She's not the only one with secrets. Emma isn't who you think she is. She's not just your daughter." Suddenly, a loud crash came from the direction of the open door, and both David and James jerked around. A dark figure filled the doorway, spilling into the room with a force that knocked the air from David's lungs. It was another woman, wild hair and fierce eyes, wearing a tattered coat that looked like it had seen better days. "Get away from them," she screamed, pushing past James, clearly frantic. "You don't know what you're dealing with. Who the hell are you?" David's voice was laced with anger, confusion swirling inside him. "I'm the one who knows the truth," she shouted, her voice shaking. Clara's eyes widened, her calm, usually unwavering, now overtaken by shock. "She's my daughter, not yours. You've been raising someone else's child." David's world shattered at her words, twisting into chaos. "What?" The weight of her accusation hit him like a freight train. Each syllable struck a nerve. "Emma is mine." "That's what you were told," the woman shot back, desperation spilling from her. "They took her from me. I never gave her away, I was forced out." James's eyes darted between David and the stranger. "What is she talking about?" David felt dizzy, grappling with doubt. His mind raced with questions. How could this be true? "You're lying," he shouted, but his voice held less conviction than before. The woman took a step forward, hands trembling. "No, you're the one who's been lied to. Emma was born on the streets. I tried to keep her safe, but they took her from me before I could fight back." Tears pooled in her eyes, the anguish bleeding into the room. "She's my blood." David stood frozen. Clara looked like she'd seen a ghost, her calm facade wavering. "David, perhaps we should listen." She began, but he cut her off. "No, this is insane. I won't believe it." He yelled, anger flooding his veins. "Look at her." The woman's voice cracked with urgency. "Look at her and tell me she's not mine." David's gaze fell to Emma, who stared back at him with wide, innocent eyes. The room faded. Suddenly, everything he thought he knew about family, love, and connection felt like tattered threads, ready to unravel. In that moment, a phone buzzed from behind him. His heart raced as he turned, desperate for a distraction. It was Clara's phone, flickering with an incoming message under the soft glow of the light. "Who's messaging you, Clara?" David asked, suspicion filling the air. She hesitated, her expression shifting as if she held yet another truth. It's someone from my past." His heart dropped. What else was hidden? What other secrets lay just beneath the surface? Anxiety gripped the room as the possibilities twisted like a dangerous dance, each revelation deeper than the last. "David," Clara said quietly, "we need to talk." But before she could finish, the woman moved closer, her eyes fierce. "If you want the truth, it's all connected. You need to know who Emma really is." As the tension climbed high, a single question loomed larger than anything else. What other shocking truths were waiting to be uncovered in the shadows? David's heart raced in his chest, the chaos swirling around him, a storm of accusations and emotions. He felt anchored in place, trapped in the turmoil of conflicting truths tearing at the fabric of his reality. James stepped back, the tension palpable, while the wild-haired woman held his gaze with a fierce intensity. "You have to understand." Before she could continue, the lights flickered. A low hum rumbled through the penthouse like an approaching freight train. The city beyond the window dimmed into shadow as an urgent silence blanketed the room. And then, with a deafening crack, the power went out completely. Darkness swallowed them whole. "What the hell?" David shouted, panic rising. He could hardly see his fingers in front of his face. His pulse raced faster, the oppressive blackness pushing against him. "Stay calm," Clara urged, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "We need to find a light." Suddenly, a soft glow cut through the dark. David squinted, barely making out a flicker from the woman's pocket. She pulled out a small flashlight, casting a beam that danced across the room, flickering nervously like everyone's nerves. "Please," the woman said, voice trembling, "I need to explain." "Explain what?" David barked, irritation spiking. "That you're some kind of savior. What's your angle here?" The beam fell on her face, and for the first time he noticed the tears pooling in her eyes, glowing in the flashlight's light. "Because I have to protect her. Emma is in danger." David's anger faltered, confusion overtaking him. "What do you mean? From who?" He took a step closer, the question fumbling on his lips. Before she could answer, a loud boom echoed through the building. The windows rattled. An explosion. David's heart sank. They were in the penthouse high above the city. What was happening? As if on cue, sirens wailed outside. Panic gripped him as he thought of his daughter, innocent and asleep in the crib. Emma. He dashed towards her room, feeling the tremor of urgency pull at his feet like gravity. He couldn't let anything happen to her. The woman shouted after him, her voice cutting through the chaos. "No, you don't understand. If someone finds out." But he didn't hear the rest. He pushed open the nursery door, the shadows dancing in the flickering light. Emma lay in her crib, unharmed, serene. Relief flooded through him as he picked her up, holding her close. "Daddy's here," he whispered, smoothing her hair. His breath felt heavy in the air, but then he heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible click behind him. Turning slowly, he found the silhouette of a figure framed against the doorway. James stood there, his expression unreadable. "David," James said, a low rumble, "you don't know who you're messing with." Before he could process the threat in his brother's voice, Clara gasped. "No, it can't be." Time slowed, the world around them suspending as realization crept in. The figure stepped forward, and with a sudden smack of the flashlight's beam, he was illuminated. It was an older man, familiar features twisting into a haunting expression. David's heart dropped, a face he thought he'd buried long ago. "Dad." The word slipped from his mouth, shock wrapping around him like a cold blanket. "Surprise," their father sneered, the familiarity dragging David back to a childhood of pain. "Did you really think you could escape this?" Everything David knew twisted into horror. Clara's eyes flared wide, James remained impassive, and the wild-haired woman gasped as the storm of family secrets swirled, ready to tear apart every glimmer of peace remaining in the room. "Dad, what are you doing here?" David croaked, voice trembling. "Reclaiming what's mine," his father replied, a smirk creeping across his lips. "You think you can just walk away, live your life, raise a child? Emma belongs to this family." As the weight of those words sank in, another explosion resounded, shaking the very ground beneath them. David stumbled, balancing Emma tightly against him. And as chaos enfolded them, a single thought loomed: who really owned the truth? Who would walk away from this night? The walls were closing in, and the answer hovered just out of reach, dark and dangerous. David stood frozen, the darkness pressing in around him. His heart pounded as he faced the specter of his past, his father's familiar sneer frozen in time. "Reclaiming what's mine," the man taunted, his voice laced with arrogance. A sharp bang shook the room, reverberating through the walls, and David's grip on Emma tightened. James shared a look with the stranger, a flicker of recognition, a shift that sent chilling dread down David's spine. "Emma is my granddaughter," their father spat, pointing a shaking finger at him. "You think you can just raise her without consequences? Do you even know what's at stake? What are you talking about?" David hissed, confusion and disbelief overwhelming him. "She's my daughter. Your mother had her reasons for keeping you in the dark." His father's words cut through the darkness. "Emma is the key to everything, the family name, the legacy. And now you've put us all at risk." Suddenly, the door burst open again, this time revealing a tall figure in a dark uniform, a police officer, flashlight in hand, sweeping through the room with authority. "What's going on in here?" he barked, eyes scanning the chaotic scene. David's heart raced. "It's not what it looks like," he shouted, trying to shield Emma from the spotlight. "Step away from the child," the officer ordered, raising his flashlight. The tension escalated as light flickered across their faces, illuminating fear and uncertainty everywhere it fell. The wild-haired woman stepped forward, her voice tinged with desperation. "You need to listen. They've taken Emma from me." "Shut your mouth," David's father shouted, his frustration boiling over. "You don't belong here. You lost that right." David turned to the officer, a twisted knot in his stomach. "Please just listen. Emma is my daughter. Enough." The police officer cut in, finger raised. "Everyone is coming down to the station. You can sort out your issues there." Panic surged through David. "No, you don't understand," but then, echoing through the dim apartment, a sharp crack pierced the air. David flinched as the back window shattered, glass flying into the room like deadly rain. Get down, the officer yelled, pushing Clara and the wild-haired woman to the ground. The chaos erupted as David instinctively shielded Emma, his body blocking her from danger. He looked around in horror, trying to make sense of the madness. The sirens wailed louder, drawing closer, mixing with the chaos inside the room. "What is happening?" Clara shouted, panic swelling in her voice. James was slumped against the wall, his expression one of shock and confusion. "This can't be happening," he muttered. The wild-haired woman's eyes widened. "They're coming, they know." Suddenly, she lunged toward David, grabbing his arm, her grip fierce. "You have to trust me. You have no idea what you're part of." Before she could finish, a loud explosion rocked the building, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. Something powerful, something that felt like the world was ending. David's heart raced. "What do you mean? What do I not know?" Through the smoke and chaos, a shadowy figure appeared at the door, a woman, her features hidden by the darkness, but something about her felt achingly familiar. "Surprise," she called out, stepping into the flickering light. David's breath caught in his throat. "Mom!" The resemblance was striking, and it hit him like a gut punch. The world around him faded, the fights, the secrets, the lies transformed into a swirling blur. What is happening? He stepped back, confusion settling like ice in his veins. The room trembled as the sirens screamed outside. The very foundation of David's world shifted beneath him. "Mom, why are you here?" "Because I have to save you. All of you," she replied, eyes locked onto his, intense and pleading. And in that moment of connection, a flicker of hope ignited amidst the chaos. But was it enough? A deafening sound cut through his thoughts. A gunshot. Another explosion. What lay ahead for them all? Would the truth save them or destroy everything they once knew? The questions hung heavy in the air, brighter than the chaos surrounding them. David stood frozen, the darkness pressing in around him. His heart pounded as he faced the specter of his past. "Mom!" The word slipped from his mouth, shock wrapping around him like a cold blanket. He never expected to see her here, not now. "Listen to me," she said, her voice urgent, breaking through the chaos. "It's not just about Emma. There's something you need to know." Another explosion rattled the windows. Glass crunched beneath the weight of unease. David's grip tightened on Emma, who was still blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around them. "What do you mean?" David asked, voice barely above a whisper. He felt unsteady on his feet. "It's about family, about blood," she continued, moving closer. "You have to trust me. Sometimes the truth is so twisted, it turns family against itself." Before he could reply, the wild-haired woman stepped in front of him. "No, you need to hear me out too. You're in danger." "Danger," David snapped, feeling a swirl of confusion and anger. "From who?" "From you." The police officer still stood watchful, the tension in the room thick enough to cut. But the attention shifted as sirens grew louder outside, a cacophony of urgency building. "Enough!" Their father barked. "No more games." The lights blinked again, the tension rising like a wave about to crash. David felt fear crawl up his spine. Then, like a movie playing in slow motion, the wild-haired woman took a step toward them, her eyes ablaze. "I didn't have a choice. I had to give her up. She was never meant to be with you." What the hell are you talking about?" David shouted, incredulous. "What do you mean she was never meant to be with me?" Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the sound of breaking glass shattered the air again, but this time, a bullet whizzed through, hitting the wall inches from Clara. A collective gasp rose in the air. "Everyone down," the officer shouted as chaos erupted. David instinctively moved to shield Emma, his body tense, fighting through panic as shadows moved outside. Amidst the chaos, David's father raised his hands, leaning into the urgency. "We have to leave now." "What, leave?" David spat back, heart racing. "You think I'm just going to run away?" "Listen to him," the officer urged, looking through the chaos. "This situation is escalating. Get to safety now." But something shifted in the wild-haired woman's gaze. "No, you have to understand. Emma is special. They only want her because of who she is." David felt the world tilt. "What do you mean, who she is?" Then she took a deep breath, her words barely forming. "Emma, she's not only your daughter, she's the key to everything. They want her because of her abilities." "Abilities?" David echoed, feeling a chill. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" "Your girl is connected to something bigger than your family," the woman said, desperation clawing at her voice. "Our kind, they led to everything. Secrets you don't even know exist." David's heart sank. He felt reality slip through his fingers. What kind? What secrets? The officer pulled his radio, signaling urgently for backup. The sound blurred together with the rising storm outside, and David felt utterly lost in it all. Then, clearer than anything, came her demand. "If Emma is found by them, it's over. They'll stop at nothing to take her." "Who?" he yelled. "Who will take her?" But before the woman could answer, a blinding flash of light burst from the front window, illuminating the room. For a split second, everything froze. The officer's face, wide-eyed, James, mouth agape, Clara, hands over her mouth. And then a swirling haze engulfed them all. The world broke apart in a brilliant flash, pulling David into a vortex of light and shadow, an overwhelming rush erasing everything he thought he knew. When the light faded, David opened his eyes to a new place, a new time. A voice echoed in the distance, deep, resonant, familiar, and with it came the shocking truth. Everything he just fought for, everything he believed about family and love, suddenly, it all hung by a thread. Everything was different now. And the question screamed in his mind. What had he just stepped into? David blinked, the world around him a kaleidoscope of swirling shadows and light. His mother's familiar gaze met his, but there was something different. The air thickened, a taut string pulled tight before snapping. The thick darkness felt oppressive, a weight pressing down on him, suffocating. Just as he opened his mouth to question her further, a flash of blinding light engulfed the room like a lightning strike. Time froze. The shadows dimmed to silver and everything trembled. Then, with a sudden crash, the light receded. As his vision cleared, David found himself standing in an unfamiliar space, a stark, sterile room that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Confusion gripped him. Where were they? A soft beeping noise filled the silence, and with it came a sharp reality check. "David." A voice echoed, deep and confident. It was familiar but jarring. "What are you doing here?" He spun around at the sound. There stood a tall woman in a white coat, her eyes piercing him like daggers. A doctor, the name hung on the tip of his tongue, just out of reach. "Dr. Hayes." "Yes," she replied, glancing around and then focusing on him. "You need to listen closely. There's no time." David felt a gnawing unease creep in. What is happening? Where's Emma? Where's James and my mom? Panic rose in his chest like bile. "Your mother," she paused, her jaw tightening. "You don't understand the gravity of this situation." "Tell me, just tell me." David felt that tightness in his throat, desperately trying to rein in the chaos swirling within him. "She's linked to a past we thought was buried. The explosion, the chaos, they were coming for her, for all of you." Dr. Hayes stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Emma's life is in danger because of who she is. Your family. It holds secrets, dark and dangerous ones." A flood of emotions washed over him. "You mean, Emma is not just a child. She is a key player in something bigger than all of us." Her voice trembled with urgency. "She is the last link in this chain, a bloodline with powers bound by ties you couldn't possibly fathom." "What powers?" David felt skepticism creep in, though its hold weakened in the face of fear. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, the room jolted. The lights blinked erratically, and another tremor shook the ground. The walls started to pulse. The door burst open, and a group of men in dark suits flooded the room, their faces determined but filled with menace. David's heart raced, adrenaline flooding his veins. "Get away from him," one of them shouted, advancing towards David, but Dr. Hayes stepped in front of him, steadfast. "Stop, you can't take him," she yelled as panic erupted again. "Who are you?" David asked, words tumbling from his mouth, urgency pushing him. The man at the front smirked, eyes glimmering with something sinister. "We're here because he's not who you think he is." "What do you mean?" David's stomach twisted. He's part of the bloodline too, the man replied, breathing heavily. He's your brother. David felt a fist close around his heart, palpable shock coursing through him. What? No, that can't be. But in that moment everything clicked. The closeness he had felt toward James, the bitter remnants of their family feud, the secrets buried beneath years of silence. James is my brother. The room spun. Confusion and hurt bled into realization, a web of betrayal stretching out before him. With every heartbeat, an understanding coalesced, unraveling the tapestry of his life. Secrets surpassed secrecy, intertwining them in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. But there was one thought that lingered above all, a question that would haunt him. Why? Why would you hide this? And just like that, the door swung open behind him, the world falling away once more into the unknown, leaving him breathless, heart racing amidst the chaos. In that fragile moment, a shocking truth hovered just out of reach. What had he gotten himself into? David felt the air shift around him, the weight of the moment pressing down harder. His father's admission hung like a thick fog in the room. You're part of the bloodline too. It reverberated against the walls, colliding with his thoughts. Before he could respond, an ear-splitting crash echoed outside, shaking the windows. The lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness. Panic bloomed in David's chest. What now? In that darkness, the voice of the officer cut through, urgent and steady. Get to safety, this is escalating. But the word safety felt like a cruel joke. David clutched Emma tighter, heart racing. The wild-haired woman moved closer, the flashlight beam fluttering against her desperate expression. It's not just this family. They're coming for your blood. They'll stop at nothing. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the room again. And in that heartbeat, David saw everything: the shattered glass, the fury etched on his father's face, the fear in Clara's eyes. But then a loud bang echoed from somewhere deep within the building, reverberating through their bodies. The blast was instant, sending debris flying through the air like shrapnel. David instinctively shielded Emma. Everything became surreal. The officer shouted, Clara screamed, and his father lunged forward. But then it happened. A massive figure emerged from the smoke, standing tall and cloaked in shadows and dust. As the outline came into focus, David's breath caught in his throat. It was a woman, her hair wild, eyes blazing with a determination that cut through the chaos. Mom, David gasped, disbelief swirling through him, but it wasn't just any mother. Not her, his father growled, frustration boiling over. You don't know her like I do. In a flash, the officer yelled, get down. As the room erupted into chaos, bullets fired, ricocheting off the walls. David felt warmth splash across his cheek. Had he been hit? He stumbled back, disoriented, eyes darting. David, the officer shouted, more urgent than ever. We need to move. The wild-haired woman stepped between David and the frantic officer. She's come for Emma. Listen to me. Listen to your real mother. The words struck hard, cracking through David's shock. What do you mean? What do you mean, real mother? Confusion turned to anger as he tried to process this tidal wave of truth. Suddenly, a blinding flash enveloped the room, and everything froze in that second. Then the sound of shattering glass rained down like a storm. When the world reformed, David stumbled out of the fog. Standing amid the debris was not just one, but another figure, a man, tall and imposing, with the same piercing eyes as his father. You didn't think we'd let you escape, did you? The man's voice was familiar, wrapping around David like a dark shroud. Your true lineage is on the line, and you've been running from it. This is a family matter. Stay out of it. His father roared, but David felt his mind racing. What did you do? Too many secrets, the new figure said, his voice like ice. It's time you learned the truth about who you are. Time to embrace your legacy. Time to decide what you're fighting for. David's world unspooled before him. Everything he thought he knew melted under the weight of new revelations. Clara moved closer, fear marking her features. The words swirled in his head, turmoil and determination colliding. Emma, David shouted, desperation spiking again. I won't let anyone take her. As the dust settled, it felt like the walls of his life were closing in tighter. chains forged by blood and deceit wrapped around him. Confusion turned to clarity. He had to choose. But a brutal truth loomed ahead, hidden in the shadows. What is it that I'm really fighting for? That question wrapped around him, tightening like a noose as the chaos continued to rise, leaving him desperate for answers that might never come. David felt the air shift around him, the weight of the moment pressing down harder. His father's admission hung like a thick fog in the room. You're part of the bloodline too. It reverberated against the walls, colliding with his thoughts. Before he could respond, an ear-splitting crash echoed outside, shaking the windows. The lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness. Panic bloomed in David's chest. What now? In that darkness, the voice of the officer cut through, urgent and steady. Get to safety, this is escalating. But the word safety felt like a cruel joke. David clutched Emma tighter, heart racing. The wild-haired woman moved closer, the flashlight beam fluttering against her desperate expression. It's not just this family. They're coming for your blood. They'll stop at nothing. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the room again, and in that heartbeat, David saw everything: the shattered glass, the fury etched on his father's face, the fear in Clara's eyes. But then a loud bang echoed from somewhere deep within the building, reverberating through their bodies. Get down! The officer shouted as panic erupted. David instinctively moved to shield Emma, his body tense, fighting through anxiety as shadows moved outside. Amidst the chaos, David's heart raced. He recognized the voice approaching through the smoke, smooth, confident, yet malicious. A figure stepped into the doorway and the world slowed. It was Caleb, a long-lost relative whose face David only knew from family photos but had never spoken to. David felt the room go cold. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Caleb stepped forward, eyes glinting with a mix of anger and a twisted familiarity. "Did you really think you could escape this? It's time to collect what's due." "Due?" David echoed, confusion and anger colliding. "What do you mean?" Caleb's lips curled into a smirk. "You know what this is really about, David. We both know the truth. Emma isn't just a child, she's a vessel. A vessel." The word hit David like a punch. "What are you talking about?" "Everything you've heard, everything you've experienced, it's a game," Caleb continued. "Your mother, your father, they hid the reality. Emma carries the power to break the family curse. With her, we can control it once and for all." "Control what?" David shouted, his world growing unsteady. "What curse?" Before Caleb could respond, a beam of light flickered, illuminating a dark corner of the room. A group of robed figures emerged, their faces obscured. Fear sliced through David like a knife. "What is this?" One of the figures stepped closer, her voice hauntingly familiar. "You're not the only one tied to Emma, David." The hair on the back of David's neck stood up. "Who are you?" And then it hit him. The voice, so similar to his mother's, it was her twin sister, long thought dead. Aunt Laura. He gasped, memories flooding back. She had vanished years ago, swallowed by family secrets and silent whispers. "Yes, David," Laura replied, eyes alight with a feral intensity. "We need Emma. The prophecy demands it, and it's finally time to fulfill our family's destiny." Shock slammed into him. "What prophecy? This is insane." David's father lunged forward, but Laura stepped between them, a hand raised. "You can't hide the secrets anymore. They are what bind us. We all have a role in this, and Emma is the centerpiece of everything." The weight of her words hung heavy in the charged air. David's mind raced. Emma, just a baby, had become a pawn in a game of ancient secrets he didn't understand. He felt a tightness in his chest, urgency rising like a tidal wave. "Enough!" the officer yelled, stepping forward to shield David. "This is too dangerous." But Laura shook her head, laughter echoing, mixed with the hollow sound of distant sirens. "Dangerous? This is just the beginning, dear nephew. The ties between you and Emma run deeper than you realize." Boom! Another explosion knocked them all off balance. David's heart raced, driven by adrenaline and shock. As the dust settled, he found himself staring at Emma, innocent and blissfully unaware, lying in his arms. "Emma is not just important. She's everything," Laura said, her eyes searching David's. "And she's far more powerful than you know." The world swirled around him, reality slipping through his fingers. What did he not know? What secrets still lay buried? As the darkness deepened, so did the mystery. What would he sacrifice to protect Emma? What price would the family exact? The questions loomed, heavy and unrelenting. Would discovering the whole truth save them, or tear everything apart? As the dust settled around them, David clutched Emma tightly, a fire igniting within him. "You're not taking her," he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. The room felt like it was closing in, the shadows merging with fear. Laura stepped closer, her eyes narrowing with determination. "We're not taking her, David. We're protecting her. She doesn't understand yet, but she is part of a legacy that has been hidden from us all, a legacy that could destroy or save our family." Caleb sneered, his presence oppressive like a storm cloud. "You think you can protect her? They'll come for her, and it's only a matter of time. She's the key." With that, the officers moved into action, shouting commands, urging everyone to leave. David felt a surge of desperation. "No, we can't just run. If you don't, you'll lose everything you care about." Clara shouted, her eyes wide with concern. "Don't let them split us apart." Emma, in David's arms, started to whimper, sensing the tension. David could feel the weight of their world pressing down on him, collapsing around them like a house of cards. "Get to safety," the officer yelled again. Now, the air buzzed with fear and uncertainty. David felt his heart race. He couldn't let this be how it ended. With a cry that echoed in his chest, David turned to Laura and Caleb. "What do we need to do? Tell us how to protect her." In that moment he saw it in Clara's eyes, a flicker of hope mixed with the anguish of unanswered questions. "You have the power to fight back. You have family and allies. Use that strength." A loud thud shook the room once more, the chaos escalating. David took a breath, steadying himself. He looked at Emma's innocent face, the light in her eyes cutting through the darkness. "All right," he said, determination locking in his heart. "Let's do this together." "I'll stay by your side," Clara said, her voice firm. "We're a family, even if it feels like we're only just learning what that means." The shadows shimmered with something resembling hope. David felt the weight of his inherited power, and he could finally see the threads binding them all together. "Emma is ours. She will know laughter and love and a family that will stand strong." The tension in the room shifted. "We won't let them take her." David's voice rang clear and fierce, filled with resolve. The shadows of doubt began to recede, dispelled by the light of courage and truth. Outside, voices rose, an urgency pulsing through the very fabric of the air. They would face this storm together. The team gathered around, preparing to step out into the unknown. David's father, once a figure of darkness, now stepped forward, a hint of solidarity reflected in his eyes. "This time I'll fight for the family, all of us." Together, they formed a protective circle around Emma, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they stepped out into the light, city sounds swirled around them. Sirens, distant shouts, and the promise of a new beginning. "Let's make this right," David said, a fire igniting in his belly. "Whatever it takes, we will reclaim our future." With a fierce determination binding them, they moved toward the door, hands linked, hearts united. The world was chaotic around them, but together they would find a way through the darkness. And then, just as they reached the threshold, a shadow fell across their path. A figure loomed, an unexpected splash of danger against their newfound resolve. "What now?" David whispered, a knot forming in his stomach. But they were ready. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. You must subscribe now to catch the next chapters of this gripping story. Click like now to feed the algorithm and support us. Don't wait another second to flood the comments with your thoughts and theories. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know how it ends. Your support is everything.